everyone, welcome back to my vlog. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List, and this week we're going to do something a little different. I had decided that July was the month I was going to be caught up on my reading goal. My reading goal for the year is to read 115 books. So far was, before yesterday, 6 books behind. So, this week I'm going to try to read 7 books in a week to get caught up. Luckily, I had a book left on my June TBR, which was fairly short. So I read that yesterday. It was only like, I want to say like 107 pages. It wasn't like super long. And it was Flowers for the Sea. And it's a gothic novella, I guess. Honestly, it's a little confusing. What I gathered was that there is this woman, Ixari, I believe, and she comes from a family that has this like connection to the sea that gave them powers to do something. Honestly, I don't know if it was ever stated clearly what that power was, but it is some sort of connection to the sea. And because of this, they were sort of ostracized from their villages, and there was a fire that like burned down Ixari's family home, or her entire family perished. And then 4 months later, the land sunk into the ocean. And so now everyone, or a decent amount of people from these villages, are now on this like ark, just sailing. And there are these creatures that are hunting kinda them. There's these like sea monsters, but there's also these like massive birds with like razor sharp teeth in their beaks that will, you know, take people from, I shouldn't be laughing, take people from, you know, the deck of the boat. And most of the pregnancies that happen do not come to term. However, Ixari's has been continuing. And so the story follows the latter stages of Ixari's pregnancy and how she feels about it, and then the birth and how she feels about that, and then the newborn and how she feels about that. And then it ends. So obviously I'm not going to go too into it because I think the twist was interesting and unexpected. I did not predict that. It was so, I don't know, I think that's a sign of like, I took this Gothic literature class in the spring semester, and while I do think it gave me more of an appreciation for Gothic literature, especially like the early stages of the genre and how it has changed over the last several hundred years, I do still think that like Gothic is just not for me. This wasn't a bad book. It was well written. I could see the Gothic in it, the uses of the tropes, for lack of a better word, of the genre. It was very good. It's just a book that I'm like, I don't need to read it again. Like, nothing wrong with it, just I can accept that I am not a Gothic literature girly. That's fine. I did give it 4 stars. So if you like Gothic literature and like legitimately like it, instead of just like my appreciation for it, like if you like Gothic literature, you should definitely check out this book. It's a very quick read and it's very interesting. And while I was reading it, I kept thinking, I'm like, my friend Stephanie would love this book because she is a Gothic literature girly. So I will probably give it to her. Yeah, 4 stars I think is a very good rating for a, you know, genre that I don't typically like that much. And that is 1 book down. So now I am 5 books behind. I am going to... Now, I'm not necessarily aiming to read a book a day because I don't think that would be possible. However, I do have a 3-day weekend because 4th of July is coming up, and so I don't work that day. But the days leading up to it are like today and Wednesday are very busy at work. So I'm not going to like push myself to read a book tomorrow. I probably will finish one or be very close to finishing one because I do have my audiobook from that I started on Sunday and I'm like halfway through. So, and it's I have like 4 hours left. So I could probably finish that tomorrow. But, so I wanted to put that out there. Today, it is very busy at work, so I'm going to try to get as many snatches as I can to finish reading Tough Cute Omega. This is a book that I started on Saturday in last week's vlog. I'm not a huge fan of it. The writing isn't very strong, and it just feels very like stereotypical. There's nothing about it that makes it special, even though it's like Omegaverse. It just feels like a generic Omegaverse story that I've read. I will go more into it, into like the actual plot, probably tomorrow or something. But I'm like 40% through that, so I'm gonna try to read as much as I can today. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So I will check in when I have read more. Good morning. Oh, it's so bright. I did finish a book last night, so I'm now 2 for 2. I finished reading, oh, what was it? Tough Cute Omega, I think. So here's the thing. Not every book that you get from Kindle for free is gonna be good. I mentioned last week that like I felt like it was a stereotypical Omega story. I felt like there wasn't any depth to the characters. I realized as I was reading last night, like the story is called Tough Cute Omega, and so like the Omega character, Reece, should be like tough, right? Should be able to like stand up for himself, should be assertive. No, he wasn't that at all. The only reason I know that he was tough was because Tiberius, the alpha, kept saying it. He's like, oh, my Omega's so tough. And I'm like, I know you're being serious, but it sounds condescending because he's really not. Like, he's really just... There was no depth. It was like, he's an Omega. He acts like an Omega. The only thing that he cares about is, you know, his relationship with his alpha. And that's it. And like he cared about his like studies. So okay, let me go back and actually talk about the plot before I rant. So Tough Cute Omega takes place at this prestigious private academy where alphas of course are at the top. They have all the power. Omegas are subservient. And I mean that literally. Like Omegas go and like serve like in the cafeteria or in salons for extra like money, while the alphas just have money and do whatever they want. Even their rooms are very different. So Tiberius is at the salon. He calls over an Omega. He's very cute and pretty, and Tiberius is immediately drawn to him. That's Reece. And Tiberius is immediately like very possessive and protective, and so he has Reece be his boy, which is like a kind of like owned Omega, I guess, like a private Omega that, you know, runs and like does errands and stuff for the alpha, so they don't have to, because, you know, they have so many things to do. From what I saw, they just go to the salon. They just sit and smoke and eat. Like, that's it. But Reece and Tiberius have this, like, connection, and they end up sleeping together and falling sort of into, like, a situationship, but there's still obviously a power imbalance. And Reece starts having some weird, like, physical symptoms. And it's revealed, although, I mean, I guess I could have put it together, but it's revealed that the first time they didn't wear a condom, and that Tiberius had finished in probably not the best place. So, but apparently, which was never mentioned, apparently every other time that they got spicy, they did wear a condom. That was never mentioned until like halfway through the book. And so, predictably, Reece gets pregnant. And there's a whole drama and whatever. So that's the plot. I was just getting so annoyed because the writing isn't very strong. And by that I mean the literal writing. Like the grammar isn't strong. There are all sorts of like missing quotation marks, two people speaking the same paragraph, missing capitalizations, just wrong words that I had to use context clues to figure out what the author meant. And like for my brain, apparently that is like super upsetting. Like I get apparently very stuck on that. And so I was getting annoyed about that. I was getting annoyed about like just the stereotypical like dynamics. It was presented as like fated mates, but they didn't like get to know each other. Like it was just like the entire time it was like, oh, I'm really drawn to you, I'm really attracted to you, let's get spicy. And just that over and over and over and over again. There was no like actual getting to know one another. And even later on, because we had like a little bit of a time jump, even later on, they're like, oh, I know this about Reece. It's like, okay, cool, but we didn't see that. And so that sort of just goes along the line of like, we were told Reece is tough, but not shown. And so we're told that they got to know one another, you know, within this time jump. And like, yeah, I guess we were shown, but we weren't shown the actual getting to know one another. So the relationship just felt very superficial and just like literally just about spiciness. And then my big annoyance, there was this whole time there's been like a running like subtle subplot about like the politics of this world. And that's fine, but then it would just come in at just random points where it'd be like Tiberius is waiting for Reece to like go into labor, and then his friend shows up and starts talking about politics, and Tiberius is like understandably like I don't have time to do that. My mate's about to go into labor. And it just felt so random. Or when like after the labor and they're visited by someone and that someone is holding the baby, then Tiberius brings up this like political subplot, and I'm like, this doesn't matter. Like this had literally no bearing on the relationship, and so it just feels random. And I'm ranting about this book so much. Oh my god. I finished it, so that like that should tell you something. Like, yes, there are a lot of things I found annoying about it and not well done, and that really bothered me. So actually I think I'm gonna have to drop my rating down even more. I originally gave it a 2.5. I think I'm gonna have to drop it down to a 2, because I'm like, you know what, this isn't just middle of the road. This bothered me so much. So yeah, was not a fan, but I finished it. So I think what I'm gonna do, I have like I have like an hour and a half before I have to get ready for work. And so I'm going to start reading Pumpkin Patch Cutie, which is on my July TBR, and it's also apparently only like 73 pages. So, but it is another of the Kindle books that I got while I was in Maine. So I'm gonna read that. If I don't finish it today, I should definitely finish it tomorrow. And I should also finish Time and Time Again tonight or tomorrow. So we'll still be on track. But yeah, I need a palate cleanser. So I'm really hoping that Pumpkin Patch Cutie is like much better. So let's see. Okay, I'm back. I finished Pumpkin Patch Cutie. It's only 73 pages. So Pumpkin Patch Cutie follows Scott, who is an Omega, and he's taking his niece to a pumpkin patch to go through the maze and have, you know, a fun uncle-niece day. And when they're buying their tickets, they meet Dom, who is an alpha, and he's working at the farm pumpkin patch thing to like help out his family while he's getting his large vet business opened. So they meet, there's like instant attraction, and then Scott and his niece go along their way, go to the maze. Madison, his niece, is 7 and wild, and so she kind of like runs away, gets lost in the maze. Scott freaks out. Dom helps find her, and then that is wrapped up very like well but quickly. And then Scott and Dom go on a date, and you know there's this like instant like it's another fated mate stories, although Dom mentioned, he's like, well, I don't think we're like fated mates or anything. It's like, then how else do you explain the like insta love? And like I mean love, because on their second date, which is within the first week of meeting them, they say I love you. So, and like I know this is like Omegaverse, so like that's not uncommon, but I'm just like, you can't say like, oh, I don't believe in fated mates, and then turn around and tell a guy that you love him within the first week. Like, come on. So I will say, especially reading Pumpkin Patch Cutie like right after Tough Cute Omega, it's definitely better. It still felt a little stereotypical. I don't know if it's just because, like, typically the Omegaverse that I read is within fan fiction. And so, like, I already have a lot of, like, background information about the characters, so they feel deeper. And maybe that's affecting it. But, like, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Like, it was insta-love, which isn't my favorite. I like to see relationships develop. But, like, there's nothing wrong with it. So I gave it a 3 stars. It's a cute story. But, yeah, 3 stars. It's fine. It's really fine. So that is my 3rd book. And then tonight or tomorrow I will finish Time and Time Again. And as for my physical book, I will probably start reading, what's it called? Blaney's Castle and Elsewhere, because I was supposed to read that in June. And it's like 200-ish pages in the copy that I got, so I'm hoping I can get through it fairly quickly. We'll see. I am not in the best mood. I will just say that right now. Sometimes my insecurity rears its ugly head, and I'm having a hard time getting out of my funk. So, yeah, there's that. I was supposed to edit and post last week's vlog today. I don't think that's going to happen. I might just post double vlogs next week to get back on track. Because, yeah, I just can't bring myself, especially because, like, Chris has today off as well. He also had yesterday off, which, like, that's good. We need time together. But it means that, like, I feel bad pulling away for, like, 3 hours to edit a video. And I know I won't have it done by the time he wakes up. So, yeah, I think just next week is going to be double vlogs. Yeah, that's kind of what I got. Anyway, so there's that. But what I wanted to talk about is that I finished listening to Time and Time Again. So far I'm 4 for 4. And I really enjoyed it. Since I started it Sunday, in last week's vlog, Time and Time Again is about this girl, Phoebe. She's 17, about to go into her senior year. And the story starts on her, like, 27th iteration of August 6th. She's in a time loop. where August 6th just keeps repeating, doesn't know why. You know, it's August 6th is nothing special. It's just there. But so she's been stuck for almost a month, and then she is tapped by a friend of hers car. Well, an ex-friend, a semi-friend, an acquaintances. Their relationship is complicated. This person's name is Jess. Phoebe is lightly tapped by Jess's car, and then Jess gets pulled into the time loop with Phoebe. And Jess sort of makes it her mission to like pull Phoebe out of her rut, because she's been reliving the same day for 27 days. So it's her mission to pull Phoebe out of her rut and have fun and pull her out of her comfort zone, which she does. And while they're doing that, they get closer. They clear up things about their old friendship and their feelings for each other, and there are feelings. So yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really interesting. The time loop aspect was fascinating because I wanted to see definitely like how it would resolve. And yeah, I thought it was just like, I don't know, it was fun. It was a good time. So I give it 4.5 stars. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. For the most part, I also enjoyed the narrator. I have like one little peeve, and it's so nitpicky, and I'm very sorry. The narrator is mispronouncing asphalt. And it was like, part of me understands. No, I don't actually. I was gonna be like, part of me understands why, because of how it's spelled, but like, no. She would pronounce it asphalt. She'd add an H in there, and that really bothered me. But luckily that word is only used like 5 or 6 times in the entire book, so and most of those are within the first like 30 minutes, weirdly. But that was like my one little thing. It didn't cost the book any like rating, score or anything, but I was just like, every time she said asphalt, was like, I can't even say that accidentally. I was just like, it makes me think of road made of like ashwood, which would be interesting. Not probably environmentally friendly. So yeah, so that's about it. And then I also, like, yesterday I started reading the Dandelion and the Thistle, because I was going to start reading the Woodhouse book, but right now I just need something sort of light and fun and cute, because I want to pull myself out of feeling bad about myself. So yeah, that's my plan. So since I'm not going to edit today, I was going to continue trying to enjoy his 3-day weekends. I'm not really going to do, I have all my work stuff done. I'm not really going to do a ton of like my extra stuff. I will do that next week. I'm just going to read. And then tonight we have plans to go to a friend's house for like 4th of July stuff. And I also have to figure out what I'm going to eat, because I don't think they'll have anything that I can eat there. I'll deal with that later. But right now, I'm going to get back to reading. Hello. Okay. I actually read quite a bit yesterday. I am feeling better. A little bit better. I'm trying to think of what I need to talk about. Okay, so I finished reading The Dandelion and the Thistle, which I don't know that I've talked about. So it essentially follows Addison, who is like the unofficial mayor of a maker's market, where all these different creators and makers come together once a month during the, I guess, like summer, but it starts in like May and ends in September. They come together to, you know, sell their creations. And this year there's a new ceramic artist named Colin, and Colin and Addison meet, and there's this connection, and it sort of just like follows them as they're connected and as their friendship and then relationship develops. So what I really liked about it was I really liked it. I realized saying it like that makes it sound like there are things I didn't like about it. The only thing really that sort of bothered me is that it wasn't clear where it was set. And that's not like such a huge thing. And like, I think through context clues I can put together that like, I'm pretty sure it's in the Northeast. I'm pretty sure it's near Boston. And I only really say that because like, I haven't looked up any of the like, there's like a landmark thing. I guess not necessarily a landmark. There is an art gallery that is mentioned. I haven't looked it up. Maybe I will now. But I'm pretty sure the author lives near-ish Boston. So that's just my guess. But that was the only thing that sort of bothered me. Otherwise, the things that I liked, I really liked the pacing of the relationship, especially because I've been reading, you know, more like indie published Kindle Omegaverse stories, and they're all like insta love. And so it's nice, it was nice getting to read a book that just like sort of just developed almost naturally. So that was really nice. The characters communicated very well, and I'm assuming the author has gone to therapy. And I say that because there's a lot of the things that my therapist tells me about, like, you know, how I should communicate my needs and my boundaries and how my feelings, you know, can be expressed to, you know, come across more productively. Like all this sort of stuff. I'm reading all of this and I'm like, this is like textbook therapy speak. I don't mind it because it's actually, on one hand, it's nice to see characters communicating well and there still being a plot. So like that's nice. But on the other hand, there were times where it felt a little unrealistic. But that's okay. It's a fiction book. That's okay. It doesn't have to be uber realistic. That's not why I read books. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. I understand why it has such a high rating on Storygraph because I gave it a 4.5. So I get it. After I finished reading it, so that was my 5th book of the week. After I finished reading it, I took a little bit of a break, made a cocktail, had some dinner, and then I started reading Red Hot Fate, which is an Omegaverse. It is Wolf Shifters, and it follows this guy, Shane, who's coming from like the big city. We don't know where the city is, but like, it's coming from the big city. And he's like this like lawyer, but he's visiting his best friend and like adoptive brother-ish. And his friend Peter had moved to like middle of nowhere. Literally. And Shane goes and visits and meets obviously Peter, who's like heavily pregnant because they're both Omegas. And then meets this guy Red, who he doesn't know yet, is the like alpha pack leader of this like group of wolf shifters. And they're also fated mates. What I will say is that the fated mate part was like immediate. in that they both recognize that there's a connection. However, they've boned, but they have also taken steps to legitimately get to know one another. And so, especially compare it to the last 2 stories that I read where it was like Insta, like this feels better. Like the relationship is developing and it makes more sense because they're actually, yes, they're still having a lot of like spicy time, but they're also like really trying to be like, okay, we can't just bone. We have to like know each other. It's not enough that like destiny put us together. So I am liking that. I'm about, I want to say like 66% through. I think I have like 70 pages left. So it has been revealed what Red is, and Peter is obviously, not Peter, nope, wrong person. Shane is obviously trying to adjust to figure out what that means for him, for them, if there is a them. So I am enjoying it. If I had to guess right now, I'd give it like a 3.5, 4, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it resolves. Because what I don't want is what happened in the other 2 books that I've finished this week that were Omegaverse, and have them, decide like, okay, we're mates. It's official. I've claimed you. And then they're pregnant, and then there's a time jump. I don't want that. I want it to end with a pregnancy. I don't necessarily need to see the kid. And not because I don't want to, but just like, I really don't want that time jump again, because I feel like it denies me the ability to see them bonding and to see the relationship developing. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. So let's see. Good morning. I overslept today. I'm supposed to be at personal training right now. I woke up at 8:56. My personal training session's at 9. So I text my trainer, I'm like, I overslept. Do you want me to still come in? It'll be like 15 minutes, or do you have something later? So I have a session now at 2 p.m., which is fine. Also, if you can hear me scratching, it's because I got bit at the 4th of July thing. I have bug bites. Anyway, I finished reading 7 books in a week. Maybe that's why I needed to sleep so much. I'm tired. Let me start. Okay, I know I talked about Red Hot Fate already because I was like halfway through. So I finished it yesterday. I want to say I finished it at like 2 in the afternoon. Maybe. For the most part, I did like it. It did have a little bit of time jump, but it was a time jump of like weeks instead of months. So, and I would just say like, in the like description when you go to buy it on like Kindle or on like Goodreads or Storygraph, it says that it's an MPreg. So it's not a spoiler for me to say like there was a pregnancy. But because it's like wolf shifters, their gestation period in this universe is only 8 weeks instead of like, 9 months. And so, because I had mentioned like hoping that there wasn't going to be a massive time jump, that felt better, because even though it was, skipping a little bit from like when Shane got pregnant to like 2 or 3 weeks in, and then to 8 weeks, like, because it was only that time period, it felt better, and like you could see that they had gotten to know one another better, even though they were still like crazy, like lusty for each other, which like makes sense. But it's just like with these books, I'm like, yeah, I want spicy scenes. That's part of why I'm reading the book. But I also like, it only feels spicy if you can tell that there's a connection between the characters. So I appreciated that. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was pretty good. I don't know if I will continue the series, because it changes perspectives to other people in the pack. And I just don't know if I'm interested enough in like the overall plot or those characters. So I don't know. We'll see. But I did like this one. So after I finished it, I took a little bit of a break. I had like one last work meeting, and I think I like made lunch or something. So because I wanted like a little bit of a palate cleanser. So after work, God, I don't know why like all of a sudden these bug bites itched. Like I was fine Saturday. Anyway, I'm gonna try not to itch because I feel like that's interrupting with my sound. So after work, I came downstairs. Chris had to pop into work because there's, you know, something is going wrong that he felt it would just be more helpful for him to just like be there. So I'm like, okay, so I'm alone. I might as well start another book. And I had debated for let's say like a couple days of like, should I start a book from my TBR, even though none of them are really short at this point. I could have reread higher, which I did consider, because I want to say it's like 150 pages. But I wanted to sort of save that towards like the end of the month, just because I'm reading it for a book club. Anyway, I decided to just read another Kindle book. The next one that I had up, because I'm trying to mainly go in order of like how they are like downloaded on my Kindle. And so the next one was Throwing Hearts, which I decided to read because my Kindle said it would only take me like 4 hours. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So Throwing Hearts follows Leo, who is like 29-ish. It's set in Australia. And he's part of this like program at the local LGBT center that helps get senior LGBT people more connected with the community and also like out into the world. And so they buddy up with a younger LGBT person, and so they like form a friendship, and then they also go out and do things. So Leo and his buddy Clyde, who's like in his 70s, sign up with like 3 other people from the center, or 3 other pairs from the center, and take pottery classes, which is where they meet Merrick, who owns the pottery center. And Merrick and Leo like are like instantly attracted to each other, but they have some very cute exchanges. They, you know, slowly like, not, I mean, I guess not slowly technically, but like it feels somewhat slow. It's not instant, right? But like they find each other on social media, they get each other's numbers, they go out on dates, and like it develops nicely. And they do have good communication, but there's some like small moments of like miscommunication or assumptions that brings like a little bit of drama, but it's like quickly resolved. There are some really good spicy scenes. There's also a subplot with Clyde, which was adorable, and I want a sequel following Clyde because I don't know why. I just really love like books with older characters either finding love or not. I just love books with like older characters because I just really enjoy them. So I want a sequel with Clyde. But it was so good. Dude, I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. It was so easy to read. It all made sense. There wasn't anything that like really jumped out at me as being wrong. So I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was great. And yeah, I want to see what else this author has written. I'm assuming she does pottery, because she knew a lot, or she's a great researcher. But yeah, it was really good. I just really enjoyed it. And that was my 7th book of the week. So we had quite a span where I believe I gave something 2.5 stars, and then we had a 5-star. So, I mean, that's good variety. I would have liked all of them being like 4 or 5 stars, but you know, whatever. It made me appreciate the better written books. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed watching me like try to scramble to read 7 books in a week. I'm impressed that I did it. I am not quite caught up on my reading goal, but I am only 1 book behind, which, because obviously as the days went on, I was also adding books to what I needed to meet my reading goal. But it does make me feel more hopeful that maybe this month I can get caught up. like officially. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Leave me a comment if you have read any of these books or have any of these books and want to read it. And like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, all that good stuff. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!